Hello, my name is Arthur. In the last video we dealt with some gravity issues in keeping our vehicles on the ground, and hopefully that's reasonably sorted out. I mentioned that I would get the HUD more functional, so I've added in the two extra buttons. Now, we've actually covered these buttons and written the functions to go along with them in the tank videos. So I've just added these in, and we'll just have a look at the slight difference in the HUD that required a slightly different approach to make these work. And then the next part of the video, what we're going to look at is I've made the menu so that it can be um, on the screen or not on the screen. And when the menu is not on the screen, we now have the ability to move the vehicle's camera. And that motion is by proximity to viewport edge. So if we go right over to the edge of the viewport, we have a maximum speed. And we can slow it down by easing off of that threshold. So it has the sensitivity and the ability to look around. And then when we change views on vehicles, the rotation is cleared and it becomes, well, it's a new camera, so it will be looking straight onto a vehicle. And even if we go back to one, it's a new camera, so it's not going to have the rotation that it had before. So that rotation won't stay each time we go back to the vehicle. It will be reset to its original rotation. Now that piece of script, it's just something that I had to figure out, and even just explaining the math is a little bit difficult. So trying to write the script out on a video would just be a little bit tedious because it involved me adapting script from a different project that used the viewport in the same way, but to scroll a 2D map, and not to rotate the camera, but to scroll the camera across a map. So yeah, writing that script on video is not something that I opted against trying to do. So first off, we'll look at the HUD. So now the HUD is starting with its visibility turned off. In the script, we've given it a function for selected. It works like any other selected function, so it receives a value, true or false, and sets the visibility according to that value. So that's very standard. I've given it the cancel path button and the last position button, which we've already shown on the screen. The only difference is that this HUD, it's not keeping track of what unit is selected. It has its own unit index, but that's paying attention to what vehicle we're attempting to change the camera to, and it has nothing to do with which unit is selected. So on the map, I added a function to get the active unit. So if a unit is selected, it will be returned on this function call, or it will receive a null. So the HUD just uses that function to find out if there's an active unit. And if there's an active unit, it calls the function remove all flags or set last position. Now, these functions, remove all flags and set last position, these have already been covered. We've already done this script dealing with the tanks. So the functions haven't changed at all. I've just uncommented them. So it's just another piece of script that's been uncommented. Well, some parts of the script have been changed and we've had a function added. Mostly this is the exact same script as on the tank. It just doesn't have a physics process. It has integrate forces because we're dealing with a rigid body. And we've changed the name of get direction to get steering because we didn't want to confuse direction because it's not functioning the same. for this vehicle. So let's see. So the other change is having the menu come on and off, and that's just done with a right click. So if we click the right mouse button and there's a unit selected, it's unselected. If there's a flag selected, the flag gets removed. And if nothing is selected, the menu is toggled either on or off. So, excuse me. We have forest fires all over the place, so it's getting hard to breathe around here. It's a little hard on the throat. So, if neither a unit or a flag is selected, the menu will be toggled. So, if the menu is on, it will become false and turn off. And if it's false, then it will become true. And then we have a function to toggle the menu, which just accesses the HUD selected function and sends the value of menu, so true or false. So if it's selected, it becomes visible. If it's not selected, it becomes invisible. And then I've added in a new variable for cam. And let's see, where did I put that? Oh, yeah, I've just made it a regular global variable. When change camera gives the camera over for the use of the raycast, I also have cam being set as the body. And the difference being the camera is what the raycast needs to access, but this script is the other place that we need to be able to access, and it needs to know the value of menu. So when the menu gets turned on or off, it can receive the value. And basically the same thing has to happen when the camera is spawned. So each time the camera changes vehicles, it's being respawned. It's not moving from one vehicle to the next. So we're respawning the vehicle or the camera instead. So when it's respawned, I suppose I could have this menu equals true because that has to be the case. But I have it getting the menu from the map. So I added to the map the function to return the menu's value, so the true or false can be sent over to the camera when a new camera is made onto a unit. So before the camera, the only function that it had was die. So I've added in the ability to receive the menu value while it's an active camera. So when the menu gets turned on and off, and to fetch up the menu value when it's just created. For variables, we've given it menu, obviously. It still has a vertical max and a vertical min, so that's the clamp value for the camera to be able to go up and down on the vertical. Camera edge X and Y are the 100 pixels within the edge of the viewport that the mouse pointer needs to be to initiate the camera rotation. And then I've given a speed of 2. So how the actual rotation action comes into play is we have a vector 2 for direction, so an X and a Y, and the screen size, which is also a vector 2 and an X and a Y. And what happens is we get the mouse position and we look at where it is on the screen. So we're looking at if it's within 100 pixels of this side of the screen or 100 pixels of this side of the screen. And then using a little formula to make the number that results either be a minus 1 to 100 or a positive 1 to 100. And that works the same way on both edges. And right now my math is actually inverted. So when I need it to be returning a positive number, it's actually returning a negative number, and vice versa. So once the direction is calculated from that 1 to 100 value, I'm dividing it by minus 100. And it's minus 100 because the math is inverted. So I'm getting a minus number when I need a positive number and a positive number when I need a minus number. So that just kind of fixes the issue in the math and is only incidental in the fact that the math is a little bit reversed here. And I'll just have to fix that to return this to being what it should be. So what we're doing is we're dividing it by 100. That way we end up with a value between 1 and 100th. And that value between 1 and 100th can then be multiplied by speed for the rotation degrees. So it's going to rotate at a maximum of 2 degrees or a minimum of 0.02 degrees. So that kind of creates the sensitivity along the edge of the viewport by dividing it by 100. And it's actually why I chose 100 pixels within the viewport edge. So it almost acts like a percentage, like a strength percentage as we approach the edge of the viewport. So hopefully the math here is clear. I'm a little like it's probably 6-8 months since I actually wrote this function, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on that, and I just accessed an old script from a two-dimensional RTS top-down and modified the script so that it worked for rotation rather than for having a camera scroll atop the top of a flat map. So it was kind of just an alteration of old script to get it to work for this purpose. Hopefully the explanation of how it works is clear enough. I don't see why in the future I could not look at making a situation where this same math can also be used in a gun mode, where possibly something along the lines of, instead of just being able to rotate the camera when the menu is turned on, we would have a button to go into a gun mode, have the mouse captured and a sight appear, and be able to move the sight around with the captured mouse and shoot on mouse click. So we would shoot on, I guess, left mouse click would be the shoot button. Something along those lines is, I figure, pretty possible. So from here, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next because really we've covered turrets, turret rotation, turret aiming, turret shooting. We've covered vehicle damage, getting an emitter to give a visual for vehicle damage, including vehicle damage in our menu. So a lot of things have already been covered for this effort. The only difference now is where the camera is. So getting these turrets functioning, I don't know if that's worth doing a video on because that is a repeat. That would just be a repeat of material that we've already covered using scripts that we've already written. So I'm likely to get the turrets working, and then the next video I'm likely to return to is if I can figure out a gun mode, so that when we're sitting on top of a vehicle and we have it selected, or when we're sitting on top of a vehicle, we'll have the ability to enter a gun mode and and do the shooting rather than just be a spectator while the gun auto aims and stuff like that. So that's kind of the most likely direction for the next video. So I hope my explanation for the script is all clear enough, and I've been clear about how everything functions enough that it's useful to people. And until the next video, take care.